Hello, and welcome to the Global Executive Training and Development Association podcast with Dr. Kamal Ranasinghe. Today on Global Reflections, Dr. Ranasinghe will be answering some questions for us that have been submitted by viewers like yourself. Dr. Ranasinghe, the next question asks, in the West, there is constant pontification of the success of a diverse workforce. Yet in many parts of the world, there are hiring and admissions procedures that here would be considered discriminatory. Is a diverse workforce proven to be successful? Is discrimination wrong?
In many fora where people speak to me in a very energized fashion about diversity being absolutely vital to organizational success, I have often turned it around on them and asked them to show me how they can prove to me on the bottom line of a profit and loss sheet that diversity has added this amount to the organization in its year-end audits. But that aside, my posture is that it shouldn't necessarily be diversity, it should be excellence. And here's the issue. Diversity shouldn't be something that you attempt to impose. Diversity should be something that is deep-dyed and imbued into every member of any organization. It shouldn't, to me, even come up. The United States of America, I'm here, so I'm going to talk about it. The United States of America is a very interesting country. It talks about everybody being equal. But this is one of the few leading nations that still has to have laws and policies to ensure that equality. When you speak to diversity, what are you talking about? Are you talking about diversity in terms of race? Are you talking about diversity in terms of gender, age, sexual orientation, what? All of those issues come under the fold of diversity. And my posture is that it really is a non-issue. If your organization is a really worthy organization, led by truly inspired leaders, then the diverse nature of the people who are part of the organization should never really come up. Now, obviously I'm speaking of a utopian circumstance, but that's where I stand. I think the real measure should be about the excellence of the staff you employ, about the people you admit. And that excellence has to be something that's at the forefront of your mind all the time, and it should occur without one moment's thought about the race or the gender or the age or the inclination of each of the individuals involved. You're talking about discrimination elsewhere and non-discrimination here. Hello, boy. Come here. Come here, Marcy. Come here. Just a recent scan over the last 6 months will display the number of significant lawsuits, law cases. Just look in the area of academics that have been brought by individuals who claim that they were discriminated against. So I think that it might be worthwhile, before we point the finger at the rest of the world, it might be worthwhile looking to ourselves. Next, do they discriminate? How are you going to get a situation in a place like China where 99.99% of your applicants are going to be Chinese. What diversity are you talking about? How do you intend to create diversity? Do you want them to force feed the odd Argentinian into the fold of applicants? I mean, that's, your circumstance in a particular country in the Western Hemisphere might be of a diverse situation. But to try and demand of other places that they apply that same measure is stupid. Next. When they focus on excellence is a combination of background educational qualifications, readiness for global endeavor, linguistic ability, continuing to enhance your educational qualifications, all of that. When they do that and they seek those candidates, I'm always amazed that we apparently cast aspersion on them for doing that. I'm always amazed. There is an environment of thought that here, or wherever it might be, people go ahead and they get some qualification and that's it, they are complete. They never have to do anything more. And whether their qualifications were achieved 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and the fact that the world has moved on in those 10 years or 20 years, the fact that their qualification achieved 20 years ago was in some area of, say, technology, and by sheer dint of how technology is, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, it is advancing and increasing. And there are individuals who feel absolutely perfect because they achieved a degree or a piece of paper or a piece of parchment 20 years ago. And when we don't even say it to them, when we hold the feeling that they have not in fact kept pace with the changes in their industry, in their discipline area, we engender the most severe ire from these folk. How dare you question me? I got my qualification 20 years ago and I am absolutely perfect. So, if in other locales they discriminate on the basis of bring me the best and brightest, bring me those who are most excellent with the most recent qualifications, so my hiring department for my organization can have the best staff with their talents and their skills and their qualifications on the cusp. If that is discrimination, then it seems to me to be sort of slightly wise. But of course, that's just my opinion. In most debate fora here, I will be accused of being a dictatorial, intransigent swine, and probably I am, but unashamed about it.
Could you expand on what you mean by excellence?
Are we talking about academe, or are we talking about the professional environment?
Let's talk about the professional environment right now.
I think excellence for me is steeped in my vision, my belief, that every human being, employed, unemployed, young, old, etc., has it within their own power to continually accrue awareness, knowledge, the constantly evolving body of knowledge in their particular area of interest by dint of their own volition, by dint of their own efforts, not forced to do it, but because they're excited to do it. And I'm constantly fighting a flood tide of nonsense thrown at me about, but I've got work-life balance. I've got to go out drinking this Friday. Well, maybe you don't have to go out drinking. Maybe you might like to pick up a book or something. Everyone has 1 or 10 or 100 areas of interest that are important to them. I'm looking for, it's a terrible philosophical construct. It's something akin to a reader at a prestige institution. This is someone who has their qualifications, but because of their own interests, continues to read in that particular area forever and ever and ever. And after a while, they become the world expert. There is no other person. For one tiny brief moment in time in their life, they are the expert in that area. I'm looking for people like that. They don't all have to be business experts, but even in an area like business, there are so many areas to it: accountancy, marketing, and so on. What is your area of interest? It might be literature. It might be agriculture, growing avocados, for heaven's sake. But if you're truly interested, then follow that and be excellent in that area. No one specific person can be an expert in everything. But in the professional area, if you are a computer expert, are you continuing to study? Are you keeping on the cusp of the knowledge? Are you reading everything that's coming up? Do you know everything that's coming up in your area of endeavor? Because if you do not, if you've managed to be employed in a company and you think that your knowledge garnered 5 years ago when you completed your degree, or 10 years ago, oh God, worse, 20 years ago, is so absolutely perfect that you don't need to do anything more to enhance it. All you have to do is to eat pizza and go into work every day. Then there's this nice Cockney slang thing that I learned a long, long time ago, and it goes, "You're thieving from me." Basically, you're thieving from me in terms of what you bring to the table every day when you come to work. Because I'm paying you not just for your executive man hours or woman hours, I'm paying you for your bedrock foundational awareness of the discipline area where you work in this company. But I'm also paying you on the presumption that you are not treading water, that you're constantly learning more. And the problem about this is that we have such an entitled pool of constituents in far too many Western Hemisphere countries that by dint of their own lack of endeavor, other emerging nations where people have to fight, because there are so many of them, people have to fight to get to university, people have to fight to get jobs, and to make themselves the very best candidates, to make themselves the candidate chosen for employment, they have to distance themselves from everybody else they're competing with for that job. So what's happening is that they try very, very hard themselves to become those best candidates. Is this something that is not happening at all in the Western Hemisphere? No, not at all. The picture that I'm speaking to is that far too many people here or in the West fall into that complacent area. And I think that is a severe, severe detriment, severe hurdle. I have oftentimes challenged you. I said, walk down the corridor of this academic institution, pull all the students out of every classroom, and put them to the Ranasinghe geography test, or put them to the Ranasinghe English test. And the problem that comes up with that, or at least the issue that comes up with that, is the sheer anger, the acrimony you will engender by actually showing them you're not really at the standard to be here. That's the issue. Whereas in many of the places which in your earlier question you deemed discriminatory, it wouldn't be anger, it would be a deep, soul-searing, heartfelt shame. And that's the difference. We are all complicit by dint of your technological advances and R&D, etc., you think that laves on everything. It doesn't.
Thank you for watching Q&A with Dr. R. If you have any questions for us, or if you would like to learn more, please visit the GETDA website at www.globalexecutives.org. Join us again for another episode of Global Reflections. On behalf of Dr. Ranasinghe, thank you for watching.